Hi everyone. So it's I'm in the veggie garden this morning, and it's about this time of year, late summer, early autumn. I like to start taking cuttings because I'm pruning back lots of growth, and I particularly like taking cuttings of pelargonium and rose geranium. I use a lot of these in my floral work. So I thought I'd show you how I do it. Obviously there's a lot of what looks like dead stuff on here, but plenty of shoots, and they're so easy to root. I'm going to show you how. Okay, so I've got my pelargonium cuttings that I got from the veggie garden, and I've actually moved out here to one of the perennial beds because I have some rose geranium and a couple of other types of geranium. I'm going to show you how I take my cuttings. So the first thing is make sure your plant is super healthy and looks really vigorous. If you try and take a cutting of a plant that's looking a bit sad, invariably it probably won't root. So look for a really healthy specimen. Like that one. Now I'm using scissors which have been cleaned, disinfected. You can also use a razor blade if you're feeling brave. The idea is that they've got to be really sharp because you want a really sharp, clean cut. That will help with the rooting process. Now this cutting has too many leaves on it. You ideally want about 2 leaves so that the plant can still photosynthesize, but that its energy will also go into producing roots. So I'm just going to snip off these side shoots. Don't be tempted to rip them off. You'll just damage the plant and it will struggle. You just want to make it as easy as possible. Now with this one I've got a really big leaf and 2 smaller leaves. I'm going to keep this big leaf, but I'm just going to cut it in half. I could get rid of it, but I'm just going to show you this technique. Just cut a leaf in half. And that is a good cutting. Now the roots will come out of the node, which is the bump where a leaf would come out on a stem. So we're going to cut through that. That's a perfect little cutting. It smells so good. Then I'm going to take a pencil. This is actually quite an important step because if you just shove the cutting into the medium, then it'll damage where you've cut the base, and again that's going to hinder making a root. So I'm just going to make a hole in my potting mix. I just use potting mix. As long as it's free draining, you can really use anything, so compost with grit added, something like that. But don't be tempted to use garden soil, just in case it contains pathogens which will kill the plant before it even gets to root. Now I have got some rooting hormone here. I rarely use it with geranium cuttings or pelargonium cuttings because they root really quickly, but I will show you how to do it if you want to then go on and try other things. So you just dip your cutting in like that and shake off any excess. Too much rooting hormone will actually hinder the process. And then I'm just going to pop it into the hole, and then you have to really firm the soil around it. And then water it in and write your label. So I'm going to call this mint geranium. I think it is. And label it up like that. And you might be wondering why I've put my cutting around the edge. I'm going to do a few more in this pot as well. I'll probably get about 3 or 4 because as soon as they get roots then I'll pop them on. But I recently learned that if you pop them around the edge of the pot, when it sends out the taproot, the first root, it will hit the side of the pot and that will encourage it to produce lateral roots. So it'll make for a really good strong root system. And that's about it. That is how you take cuttings, and I'd encourage you to go out into your garden, have a bit of a tidy up and see how many free plants you can make. So have fun. Just one other thing, as I was going through the rest of my cuttings, I realised I forgot to say, if your cutting has buds on it, make sure you remove those. And this one's an old bud, so I'll take that off anyway. But this is a new bud, and you don't want the plant to have to put any energy anywhere else apart from photosynthesis and creating a root. So you don't really care if it's flower or not. So we'll get rid of that bud. Node. And the other thing I didn't mention was, where do you keep your cuttings once you've made them? If you've got a glass house, that's ideal. Obviously a frost-free place, really. A little bit of warmth is nice, but not essential. I mean, we're lucky here in the Hawke's Bay, we have very mild winters, so if you live in a cooler climate, you might want to bring them inside on a sunny windowsill. But yeah, just keep them moist, not overwatered, and in a warm-ish, or at least a frost-free place. And that's it.